What is going on, everybody? Welcome to lunchtime. It's Friday. We're almost through the work week. One more little lunch with Clydesdale till we get into the weekend, and then a little relaxation. We come back with our show on Sunday night and then into the week next week. So I can't wait to get through the week. This one's been a long one, man. Felt like a Monday on a Friday. But just got to get through today and then going home to Pennsylvania to see my mama and see how she's doing. Still recovering from her visit in the hospital. So yeah, going to go see her, spend the day with her tomorrow, get there tonight, and then come back on Sunday. Just in time for Sunday Night CrossFit Talk with Carolyn and Jamie. What is going on, James, Jody? Good you could be with us already today. It has been a wild morning of content. If you are looking for CrossFit content, today was your day. Hiller put out a video, kind of another behind the scenes at 25.3. But it started with kind of the off-season life of a backup quarterback in the NFL. And as most of you know, I am a massive Chicago Bears fan. So anytime he has Tyson Bagent on, I am definitely in for that. It was really cool to kind of go see that he is working as an assistant quarterbacks coach at his alma mater, where his brother is now a quarterback. And that bond that they have, and that he wants to surround his brother and make sure that he knows all the things to be successful. But what was cool is that with all the stuff he's learned for after 2 seasons in the NFL, he was excited to share all of that knowledge with his coaches as well, to kind of go back and show them what he's learned. And then we got a little clip of him and Hiller going head to head on 25.2. And then we move forward into Albany, New York, where 25.3 took place, and kind of like him get on his way there. And then we bring in James, Dallin, and Jason, and get a little more behind the scenes with them, which was really, really interesting and really, really fascinating. I'm trying to think of all the great points I loved, but it was a really good video. And then it appears that one of the next like 48 hours with Hiller is going to be Jason Hopper. As Jason was asking Grace Ann if it was okay if Hiller came and spent some time with them in their home, and she was like, sure. The funny part of that is that Hopper then asked Hiller, like, once you come to my house, will you still trash me online if I do things? And Hiller was like, absolutely, which I thought was really, really good. But the video, for the most part, really kind of backed what Corey and I were talking about on Wednesday, and that is that Hopper has become the heel of that new group. And Hiller was referring to them as like the new era and the and we talked about them being the golden era. And is that really what's happening? And the one thing they have is Hopper is a heel. He is the antagonist that's going to push things forward. And I think that is a good thing. I think though that group is a new era moving forward, plus Colton, where they trash talk and they go back and forth with each other for sure. I wish we had a women's side to this, like back in the golden era of CrossFit, when it was Bailey and Khalipa and Froning and Chan and Bridges and all of them. We also had Annie and Fouché and Kristen Clever, and the women were just as good as the men, and they were very, very competitive. Where I think today the women aren't as they aren't as inclined to go forward with these rivalries or with these, hey, I'm going against my friend and I'm going to beat her type storylines. And I think that the community is starved for that. I think we're looking for those female stars to back in those endeavors. But it just everything is really close to the vest when they do their open scores and their semifinal scores. So we don't really get to see a peek into that competition on the women's side. And a big example I have for that is the WFP qualifier started Wednesday night. The workouts were released. They have until Monday to get that done. There are some scores posted to the leaderboard, and this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. So if we look at the leaderboard, this is the women's side of the leaderboard. The only person to post a score is Fee. Fee is the only woman who has posted any scores on the qualifier leaderboard. If you switch over to the men, there are several men. We have 13 men who have posted their some score already or where they're at. And I think that is the big difference between why we have this golden age type thing happening on the men's side and we don't have it happening on the women's side. Curious about your thoughts, because it's harder to follow when we don't know how the weekend is turning out for everybody. So yeah, just an interesting observation I took. Now, really, there's no big names that have posted scores yet on the men's side. And I was trying to go through quick. They're not really sorted in any kind of like ranking. It's just alphabetical. So I was trying to see if anybody new had signed up in the last couple days, because they can sign up all the way until Monday as long as all their scores are posted. What's cool about that is everybody got to kind of look at the workouts and decide if they wanted to or not before they jumped in. So yeah, not seeing anything at this point that's brand new. Kind of the same names that were there going into the weekend. They did get a pretty good turnout, though. It'll just be interesting to see how many of the athletes then, once they qualify for the challenger or for the pro division as a challenger or the challenger division, actually make the trip to Indianapolis. But yeah, there's a really good turnout for this. Just not seeing much in the way of the traditional elite athlete names. Yeah, I don't know how close we are to the bottom, but damn. Okay. Last couple. Tudor Magda, we saw him. He was a little late signing up, but he was in a couple days ago. There we go. Yeah, nothing new. Nothing new on the men's side. So I do want to take a quick look at the workouts that they have for their qualifier. They are very open like. So this is the best way to kind of get them, because it's a video on Instagram. But the first workout of the qualifier is a 20-minute AMRAP of 20 or 15 calorie row, 20 lateral burpees over the rower, and then 40 shuttle runs. 1 rep equals 25 feet. Scores total completed reps at the time cap, tiebreaker time after completing round 3. So that is workout number 1. very much similar to some of the open workouts we've seen in the past. Workout number 2. This one is a little bit more confusing, but it's very similar to workout number 2 of this year's open. It's 150 double unders, 100-foot double dumbbell farmer's carry walking lunges, 45 pull-ups. Then you reduce to 120 on the double unders, then 100 feet of double dumbbell front rack walking lunges, and then 30 chest to bar pull-ups. Then we reduce down to 90 double unders and do 100 feet of double dumbbell overhead walking lunges with 15 bar muscle ups to finish up. So very similar to workout number 2 in the open this year, where the increasing gymnastics, the increasing difficulty on the lunges, and then a reduction on the double unders as you go. And then part 3 of the qualifier is actually a 2-parter. So there's a 3A and a 3B. 3A is 5 rounds for time, 7-minute cap, 50-foot handstand walk, unbroken sections of 25 feet, 10 deadlifts at 315 and 225. I think that is a Carolyn Prevo workout if I've ever seen one. Definitely getting a little bit heavier on the deadlift than we've seen in the open. And then we have the unbroken handstand walk, which it's been a while since we've seen that in the open as well. And then immediately into 3B, which is on a continuing running clock from part A. Part B is an AMRAP of 5 minutes with 15 wall walk complexes, which is 1 wall walk, 1 wall facing handstand push-up. So 15 of those. And in the remaining time, max cleans at 225 or 155. So again, one of the complaints that Carolyn and Jamie had during the open is that multiple barbells in the same workout. You have the same thing here. You have the 225-pound barbell for the cleans, and then the 315 barbell for deadlifts. And then the women have the 225 and the 155 that they have to switch to for this. And you immediately go from the 7-minute AMRAP right into the 5-minute AMRAP. So, yeah. So interesting workouts. I think that is the first one that's not as much open like compared to some of the other ones we've seen. But I think it is a little more heavy on the deadlift side for sure. And the unbroken handstand walks are raising the skill level a little bit on that qualifier. So these close out on Monday evening. I think 8:00 Central Time. And then we'll see who is moving on into the pro division and who has qualified in the qualifier division. Larry Young, it's really nice to see some moderate weight compared to the ultralight in the open. Yeah, I mean, it is. I know that like people like Carolyn really appreciate that. I mean, she is a deadlift phenom, and to actually be able to showcase that with some weight on the bar is good for her. But we'll see. I think she's still deciding if she's doing this or not. But she is signed up. She is on the leaderboard. And we'll find out maybe Sunday night if she's done the workouts or if she's decided to go for it or not. But we'll see. And then we got I know Kat got approved. I got approved. And then our videographer, photographer got approved to go to Indianapolis to cover the event. So we got those early this morning, sometime in the middle of the night, actually. We got the approval for that. So we're trying to make plans on that. So we'll be at the first ever WFP tour event and be able to report back what we saw, what it looked like. what the community events were like, and all of that stuff. So that'll be exciting. Suck on these nuts, but no squatting. That is correct. I've heard that as a complaint already on some other shows. There isn't a lot of squatting in this workout, in these workouts for the qualifier. Yeah, I think you just get in danger when you only have 3 workouts, and this one actually has 4, like a part A and a part B, where you're going to miss something. I, I I was a coach when we did the 5-week open, and that was a lot on, I know myself as a coach, and I was the head judge at our gym. I know it was a lot on our ownership and a lot like that. But so the 3-week open is very much refreshing compared to that from an affiliate standpoint. And then, but I do, as a sport watcher, like the idea of having 5 scores to determine who's going to move forward. But in the open for CrossFit, it doesn't, right now, it doesn't matter. And I think that Carolyn has made the point several times on the Sunday night show that make the open workouts carry forward and add them to the next level so that it actually counts more and you get a more complete test. That makes more sense. And I'm really buying into that suggestion by her. Sucking these nuts, 2 scored workouts that require being upside down and heavy barbells. Yeah, heavy quotes. Larry Young, I got a really great coffee mug. Thanks. Glad you got it. Sorry it took me so long to get it out. Larry was the winner of a Clydesdale Media coffee mug. And we got that out to him finally. So I'm glad he got it. That's awesome. What's going on, Jeffrey Birchfield? So Sugging These Nuts, is Kat going to do the dating show? I'm leaving that ball in her court. She has a platform. She can use our channel, our equipment, our stuff to do that. I've given her the ability to do that. I put out a poll today on my Instagram story to see if people would be interested in it. I think that texting with her over the last 24 to 48 hours, I do think she is going to do it for sure. Not for sure. I do think she is going to do it. She just kind of wants to see the feedback on it before she jumps in. But I would, if you want her to do it, I would go to the poll and hit yes on that you want her to do it. If you don't want her to do it, go hit no. And so she knows that vote as well. But she just wants to see the community input. And at this point, I think we're over 80% yes for doing it. So I think she will. But we definitely want your input on that. And she's looking for a name on the show. We got one suggestion today for Cat on the Prowl. Don't know if we're going to use that one. And so I think that I think she's going to do it. But it's her show. It'll be just her. None of the rest of us will be on that show. She's just, and she actually sent me like an idea of kind of a format of the things she would talk about throughout a show. So I do think she's seriously considering it and probably will do it. We'll probably have an announcement by early next week for sure. I know that it has become a popular segment with some during our roundtables, and some of the stuff you guys have not even seen that she has sent us. She has talked about with me in the last 48 hours that she would show on an independent show some of the stuff she gets back from people that she is matching with on these dating apps. So it is wild what she gets on those apps. And so most of the stuff she's sharing on the roundtable is like the tame stuff. So I think the dating show would go a little bit higher level of transparency, might you say. And again, I guarantee Caleb and I would watch. I'm 80 some percent are saying yes right now. So I think that is winning at the current time being. So yeah, you guys have any plans for the weekend? Yeah, I'm going to Pennsylvania to be with Mom. Going to hang out with her for a couple days. And then my wife's going to drive over to her parents' house. They live about 45 minutes apart. And we're going to spend the weekend there. One of the other things I watched this morning was Chris Cooper on Savant. I did not get to the end. I'm probably 85% through that. I find that fascinating. And one thing that kind of resonates with me is I made my way to a CrossFit gym without knowing the sport part of it. I started CrossFit in 2011. That would have been Rich's first championship year. Not many people were watching CrossFit, the sport, at that point. And it's a niche sport. So there's still not a ton watching it today, but man, really small back in 2011. CrossFit came to me because my next door neighbor owned an affiliate. I was struggling with depression and my weight and where I was in life and feeling like I was trapped and nowhere to find an answer. And I prayed about it, and God talked to me in weird ways, and it made me ask my neighbor for help. So that's a long story, very short. I asked for help, and he said, "Hey, let me come over and sit down with you this Sunday, and we'll talk about it." We sat at my dining room table. He wrote out a nutrition plan for me. We started working out in my garage, and then taking walks around my neighborhood. And then a few months later, he took me into an affiliate where the legend is my first CrossFit workout was Murph. Very, very modified Murph. But the first day there, as I was going through it, this very scaled version of Murph, I felt like I felt like the athlete in me was coming out again, and I was starting to live again. And in that moment, those endorphins hit me, and I immediately was hooked, and I signed up and never looked back. So from 2011 to 2025, I have been a member of a CrossFit gym. I've had some ups and downs in the last few years. Feel like I'm on a big up after this year's open. But Chris Cooper talks about that the sport isn't what brings people in. It's what the affiliate has to offer, and that we need to focus on that. And I have conflicting thoughts about that, because I want everybody to know about what it did for me, and I want people to know that there's answers out there for them to get their life back. And so I totally get that, but I love the sport as well. I love the sport as a celebration of what the best of the best in the world can do with the thing that saved my life. I don't have any aspirations of being at that level. I just enjoy watching people do what I do at a level that makes it beautiful, and it is just artistry at the highest level of the thing that saved my life. I went from blood markers that were horrible to off all of my prescriptions in a matter of a year of starting CrossFit. And I mean, I lost over 200 pounds. I don't know what to say. It saved my life. And I know that there's this sale of CrossFit going on, and I know that things are going to change. And I just hope it changes for the better. I hope it changes in a way that someone buys the company and wants to invest time and wants to invest in the methodology and spread the word of what this thing can do for people who need it. I also love talking about the sport, and I want that to survive too. Now, whether that needs to survive in a different way or it needs to survive in a different silo, um, I don't know. Um, but I want people to know about what's out there, and I want people to be successful, and I want people to get their life back like I did. And I hope that this sale can do it with an owner that hopefully is not just looking at the bottom line, but looking at how to make this thing um, the best version of itself that it can be. Because at the end of the day, I know Larry and I talk about heavier barbells in the open and things like that, but the fact that I got into a gym and started lifting barbells again was the real victory. The fact that I was doing burpees was a real victory. Um, that I was able to run a mile without stopping was a real victory. And then I went on to do 5Ks and 5 milers and quarter marathons and didn't need to stop along the way. Um, that's what CrossFit does. And it gives you your life back. And it makes it so that I could be a better father and a better husband, and a better friend. Yeah. So my thoughts and prayers are that CrossFit gets bought by someone who cares and who wants to invest in its future and not just come in for a quick turnaround for a couple bucks. But if you did not watch that this morning, Chris was great on there. And I know Chris has put out 3 videos over the last week or so explaining his thoughts on what needs to happen for CrossFit to succeed with the new ownership. And I'm going to actually listen to those tonight on my way to Pennsylvania on my drive, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. One thing I learned today, I did not know that Chris Cooper de-affiliated. So I found that fascinating. And he talked about what it would take to get him to re-affiliate. And he said it's not much. It's just hope for the future. And I hope that happens. Because like he said, like I don't know. CrossFit's never going to die, but it's it could go out and just exist in a way that is not what it was meant to be. Jody says the original CrossFit can't be replicated, but we can hope for a better leader than what's there now. I agree. When I think the leader cannot be a board of directors focused on profit. Larry says, I love CrossFit, but for me, the sport is what sets it apart. I know community, it gets thrown around, 100% true. But running clubs, biking clubs, really everything has that too. CrossFit has sport. Yeah, I'll give you that. I think that standing side by side in a gym with barbells and pull-up bars, and you're suffering together more than running a trail where everybody kind of separates apart and then just kind of gets together after. I think that's a little bit different than the other two, but I get what you're saying, that there are other ways to get community. But I think it's different when you're in a confined area, kind of sweating and suffering together. Now, I know that like part of workouts can be out on a run and you separate a little bit there, but you always finish in the same place. And yeah. And there's more opportunity for encouraging one another side by side. Not that there aren't opportunities in the others. Larry says definitely not diminishing it. Yeah. And I like I said, the sport does kind of set it apart because you see these elite athletes doing what you do every day in a way that makes it beautiful and artistic. And I love the sport as much as anybody. Like I do. If I didn't love the sport, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be going to Indianapolis in a couple weeks. I wouldn't be going to the Syndicate Crown in a couple weeks. That's why I do what I do, right? Exactly. Just think the sport makes it special, but I'm a fan. I 100% agree with you, Larry. I can't watch enough of the sport. So, I have booked at least one guest to come on, and we're going to get back into athlete interviews here in the coming weeks. I've booked at least one, hopefully more. I'll announce who those are next week because I don't want to do it too far out in advance in case there are changes. But look for that. We're going to start doing some athlete interviews throughout the afternoons, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But it's been a while since I've gotten into a groove of that, and I got to do that as well. Larry just got my games tickets. It's my big vacation every year. It's awesome. Hopefully I'll get to see you again this year, Larry. Yeah, I booked the Airbnb the day that Albany was announced. So that's my big thing. Now I got to decide if I'm driving or flying. And when you carry all the equipment that we do, driving is so much easier. But it's quite a haul. It's about 10 hours for me. So I got to figure that out. So yeah, I got a 3-bedroom Airbnb so I could take the crew with me, whoever wants to go. So we'll see who that is. But yeah, should be fun. Before we get out of here today, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So we started our bracket challenge. Handful of people joined in. So right now, currently after day one, Brett Owsley, Masters CrossFit Games athlete, is in first place in our group. Blair Lettingham is in second. And then Alexis Detroit, who always beats me in Heat 1, is tied with me at the current moment. And you can see the teams that we've picked to win the tournament. A little fun little game we're playing just to talk some smack. But you can see Jay Birch is in there, Carolyn Prevost, Amanda Hari, Jamie Latimer, Holly Dugan, Josh Dorozenko. So yeah, there's the bracket standings as we speak after day one of the men's tournament, and the women's tournament starts today. So that should be fun. Jody asks Larry where he's traveling from. Jody doesn't have to travel from far. I think she's hosting a barbecue or something. I think she said. I don't know. Maybe I'm committing her to something that she really didn't say. And maybe she doesn't even live that close. I know it is kind of close though. So yeah, that's going to be nice for Indianapolis. And the WFP is that it's only a 2.5 hour drive for me. That until the CrossFit Games Masters division next year here in Columbus will be one of the shortest trips I take for the podcast. 2.5 hours is so nice compared to like all day travel. So that should be fun. Yeah, Jay Birch says so many upsets yesterday. Yeah. Holly's team that she picked to win is already out. The rest of us still have ours. So Jody says 2-hour drive to the games. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Compared to like driving to Tennessee for me or Alabama or any of those sites. And this is going to be a cakewalk. Well, that's about all I have for today. Sorry I rambled a bit. Just seemed to be like a mishmash of content out today and just trying to get to the weekend and get through my workday. But you guys help me do that every day with this lunch with the Clydesdale. It helps break up my day, helps me get refocused so I can kill my afternoon at work. And with that, get back to work, you hooligans. It's time to go. See you guys Sunday night for Sunday Night CrossFit Talk, where Carolyn, Jamie, and I will talk about all the news events. And then we'll be back Monday with Lunch with the Clydesdale. See you guys then.